What's going on, everybody? We are back with another exhaust video on our beloved S650. This time we're going to be checking out the Flowmaster American Thunder axle back for the 2024 Mustang. Now the really cool thing about this axle back is the fact that it's going to work for your EcoBoost and your GT, and for all those guys out there that have a convertible S650, this will work for you as well. Now a little bit about this exhaust. Essentially, if you daily drive your S650, you want a little bit more sound out of it, but not too loud to the point where your neighbors are giving you some death threats over cold starts. This is going to be the perfect exhaust for you. The way Flowmaster gets this perfect sound is by having a 403 stainless tubing all the way up to a Super 44 series muffler. Now the best part about this, we're not only going to get a new sound out of this, but we also are going to gain some horsepower. They should be able to gain about 8 horsepower and 6 foot-pounds of torque after installing this axle back. And one of the other awesome things about this Flowmaster kit, so you can either put the Flowmaster axle back on with your stock setup on the car, or you can end up purchasing a Flowmaster resonator as well, chop out that factory resonator and put that on to be able to get a little bit more of an aggressive sound out of your system. Now, I will say on our premium model over here, we do have the factory resonator cut out and an X pipe put in, so ours will sound a little bit different versus the factory resonator setup. But with that resonator out, we should definitely get a little bit more of an aggressive sound. So let's throw our Mustang up in the air and get this new exhaust installed. So to start this install off, we actually have to make a mark on where we're gonna cut our factory exhaust. And basically to do that, you're gonna wanna get to this point right here of the exhaust where it starts to get straight is where you're gonna measure from. So like I said, put your tape measure where the straight is basically starting here on the factory exhaust. Go 5 inches in and then mark it. I am going to use some tape here to mark it because I find it a lot easier when you're cutting the exhaust. It'll make it a little bit easier to keep it straight then. Grab your Sawzall or grinder, whatever you prefer to cut with, and then go ahead and cut that mark you just made. I'm not gonna lie, I really hate using Sawzalls, but here we go. With our exhaust cut, we can now actually take off this mount here. Now usually there's a shield right under your S650. Ours is already out because we do so many exhaust on this. They're held in by some 7mm bolts and it's super easy to take out. Once you have the mount disconnected, you can remove the factory muffler. With our factory muffler out of the way, before we put our Flowmaster axle back on, go ahead and clean up this factory pipe and get all these metal shavings out of here. You're gonna wanna go over to the factory exhaust and grab the hanger off of it and install it onto our Flowmaster axle back. Grab the provided clamp that came in the kit and throw it on the factory end of your exhaust. Then hoist your Flowmaster up into place. I like to put it in the back mount over here first, and then slide it onto the factory exhaust. As you're doing that, you can also bolt back up the factory mount here on the subframe. That way it helps you hold everything in place. Once you got your axle back in place, you can tighten down the exhaust clamp. And tighten down the factory hanger as well once you have your exhaust aligned and where you like it. We got one side installed. After you do one side, repeat the exact same process for the other side. Just a little bit of advice here, if you're trying to align your tips up with your bumper here, what you can end up doing is you can loosen up the clamp that goes from the axle back to the factory exhaust and then tweak the entire muffler. So if you kind of push up on the right side of it, it'll tweak itself. And then as you're doing that, have a friend tighten the exhaust clamp down, and then you'll be able to get these centered up perfectly with your bumper. Now that we have the install all wrapped up, let's get to the exciting part and see how this thing sounds. That's a wrap for today's install. The Flowmaster American Thunder Series axle back for the 2024 Mustang is absolutely a success. This exhaust sounds good, it's not too loud, but still gives it an aggressive tone. Now keep in mind, we do have our factory resonator cut out and we have an X pipe in there, so this will be a little bit louder than the factory resonator setup. Now, if you want a little bit more of a spice to your exhaust, we are going to be checking out the Flowmaster Outlaw series for the non-active 2024 Mustangs, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that video coming out. Now, it is time to drop a gear and disappear. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.